Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I hope you're doing well, mate. Really do hope that. It's a ruddy, miserable day here in the kingdom, so it seems perfectly apt to talk about Chelsea Football Club. Understandably and quite rightly, Chelsea fans are frustrated with how things are going. I'm finding myself in that camp a little bit more as well. And I wanted to take some time and make a video on this and speak about, because obviously the natural reflex reaction is to compare ourselves to times past in the previous regime, ownership, management, playing staff. And I get that. I'm a 35-year-old, 36 in like a few weeks, next month. Who's very much enjoyed the Abramovich era. I mean, since doing YouTube, when did I start YouTube? 2018? Long before the takeover. And even before I was doing YouTube, I was very present and active on social media, talking about Chelsea stats and all the stuff that I enjoyed a bit about the game and my own opinions, which obviously gave me a platform to eventually become a content creator. So many years I've been speaking about Chelsea. And having my opinions sometimes listened to and appreciated, though my opinion is worth absolutely no more than anyone else's in the world on planet Earth. Especially when it comes to football, we're all just fans, and it's a game of opinions, right? But I want to speak about it because firstly, I want to nail my colours, because today I want to talk about ownership, sporting directors, managers, players, winners, perhaps the diminishing winning mentality that was engraved into the very culture of Chelsea Football Club. You know, you can't necessarily just buy that straight away. The idea that maybe the new owners just want to take money out of the club, which is kind of hard to see considering they've spent 1.5 billion. I'm not sure they've made anything. They're just trying to constantly find ways to pump their own money into the club by selling the hotels to themselves, the women's team, etc., stuff like that. I mean, I think it would probably go down. I'm only just saying this off the top because lots of people are saying, oh, these owners only want to, make money out of Chelsea, make money out of Chelsea. I mean, ultimately, yes, but it's not like their behaviour so far leans into that. Their behaviour so far is them losing loads of money into Chelsea and spending it. So it's probably more incompetence than anything else. I did even do a poll on the community tab on this channel about who's to blame for this slump right now. Obviously, Chelsea aren't having a bad season, inverted commas. In fact, all things considered, apart from frustrating exits from the Cups, people would still probably look at it and go, wow, Chelsea are doing better than I expected. But context is required, and we are in a really poor slump. Obviously, we had that Wolves win, which it was good, and it was a good reflection on the manager, how he changed the game. But it's been very bad for the whole winter period. The whole of winter, bro. Do you know what I mean? It's been very, very bad. I got a best part of 3,000 votes on a poll when I said, look, who's to blame for this? Ownership, sporting directors, management, and underperforming players. The top two chunks and pretty close are ownership and underperforming players, which is interesting because they're very different sides of the spectrum. Sporting directors and management getting away with it with only a 9% vote, which I probably agree with too largely. And my position remains the same. Okay, before we get into the context of this video and blame game and reminiscing of good times past, it's not a crisis season. I need to be firm on my position that I was all season and before. If we qualify for the Champions League and, Reece James lifts the Conference League as champion, as captain, and we win a trophy again, it's the Conference League, but it's a young team winning a trophy. If we lift that and we qualify for the Champions League, for me personally, it's a successful season. I mean, neither of those are guaranteed, especially when you need to arrest. If we go and smash Brighton in the Premier League away next game, Nico Jackson and Enzo Fernandez start, and Kunku's slam dunked on the bench, and Jorgensen's in goal, and we win, and we get another 3 points and another game week secure in our top four race. Obviously, people will calm down a little bit, but we have got a large body of data here to see. It's been really, really poor for a while. and nothing's a given. But I have to sort of again nail my colours to the mast of if we qualify for Champions League and we win the Conference League, which we're expected to, of course, with a heavy favourites, then I'll be I'll be happy. I'll be frustrated in the context of certain losses, especially the cup exits. They were both seeming quite needless. Don't think Maresca's come out looking very good after either of them as well. And neither is Nkunku in either of those games as well. Those exits against Newcastle and Brighton, he was just awful as a striker. By the way, I did do a match review of Chelsea's loss to Brighton in the FA Cup. Feel free to go and watch that. I just so very frustrated with the striker situation. The fact how, like I said, as a football fan who's a big fan of Nkunku as a player, in isolation away from Chelsea, and I respect him, but as playing in a striker, again, sorry to sound like a broken record to compare, but to watch Alexander Isak absolutely bully a formidable centre-back partnership in Gabriel and Saliba and just do this world-class centre-forward performance, to watching Nkunku, doing absolutely nothing, just not affecting the game in any way whatsoever. And they're Newcastle and we're Chelsea. We're supposed to have the Drogbas and the Costas. Anyway, we'll get into that. We'll get into transfers and stuff. But yeah, essentially, if we do, I'm not saying I'm overly miserable. Our targets can still be met, but there is something to be spoken about here, because Chelsea are in a position where we had a lot of players, and we seem massively understocked still. We've got an inappropriate squad building. So I want to do a video talking about the ownership, the sporting directors, the playing staff, probably more than the management, because managers will come and go. There's good managers. I generally like Maresca. I like how he can talk, apart from what he came out with yesterday. I like how he talks generally. I think he has got the capacity to do some good managerial performances, and I think he's demonstrated that, and I think he'll get better as well. He's young enough to get better. I don't think he's necessarily going to be the guy forever, but I'm very happy with him to be the guy right now. People romanticising about Pochettino. Not me. I really liked Pochettino as a man. Apparently he's a gentleman and he's genuinely a really sweet bloke. And at times he was a good coach. For me personally, he's coaching the US men's national team. He's not going to get another big job in his career. And the fact how we conceded a record amount of Premier League goals under him. And we're going to be talking a lot about Chelsea, good Chelsea, what Chelsea means. It's not conceding a record amount of goals and bending over for every team in the league. That's the most un-Chelsea thing ever. So I shan't be romanticising about Pochettino. I'm sorry if you were expecting that from me. Yes, we had a run of 5 wins towards the end of the season, but we never looked safe in those games. And it was it was this sort of it was a form thing. Structurally, I didn't have any faith in Pochettino. I have more faith in Maresca, but I'm not necessarily saying he's the saviour of Chelsea. So, let's talk about owners. Let's talk about structure. Because rightly, Chelsea will romanticise about the Roman Abramovich era. It's also important to note, he's gone. He's not coming back, and Chelsea aren't going to get new owners. Just not. Chelsea fans, I'm not saying everyone do what they want, everyone can have their own opinions. If Chelsea fans want to protest with these current owners, good luck to you if you think it's going to be the solution. If you truly think that's it, I mean, who comes in? Is it what? Do you want a Middle Eastern state-backed project? Do you want the Ricketts family from USA? Who do you want? And how would that even happen? I don't want to be nihilistic here, but I don't see I don't see a solution. I don't even think there is legal ways where they can sell shares outside of each other for the next 8 years. As part of the deal with Rain Group, who sold Chelsea. So, as to my understanding, you ain't getting any new owners, okay? You might be getting new sporting directors if Chelsea don't sort their stuff out. That's what I would say. There is a divide of Chelsea fans. I don't think anyone's particularly romanticising about these owners, but these owners have put loads and loads and loads of money into Chelsea Football Club. They got a great deal in the purchase, of course it has to be said. They purchased Chelsea for a very fair deal, and most notably, and the most salient point is, Chelsea had no debt. Roman Abramovich wiped it all away. So you're buying a really good asset, prime real estate in London, recent champions of Europe. It was a great purchase for whoever bought it. We need to contextualize things, guys, because Chelsea had been seized. Again, you can you can romanticize all you want about Roman Abramovich being sanctioned. If you're a Chelsea fan that thinks, that's just constantly, reminiscing about him. That's not going to do you any good. He's gone. He's not coming back. He's gone, right? So he's gone. You need to analyze your alternatives before you start like waving your fists in the air. I think personally, you can. That's my opinion, at least. I didn't want, for my own geopolitical opinions, want state ownership. I don't think soft power play in the West is a helpful and good thing for the sport. Qataris or Saudis, there's nothing against them as a people. I think actually, although I think the Qatari World Cup was a bit of a disgrace, I think Saudi has got actually a really good, rich footballing culture. They really love football out there. But I digress. In terms of the only thing changing with the Chelsea ownership is probably maybe Clearlake buying out Bowley or Bowley buying out Clearlake. We haven't heard from Bowley. We haven't even seen Bowley in a long, long time. Now, to speak about the previous successful, and it was very successful ownership under Roman Abramovich in terms of sporting success. In fact, you might have said, like Frank Lampard has said on a few times in like these podcasts he does in recent years, he feels like Chelsea underachieved. So we're of course successful. We won 5 Premier Leagues, but he thinks we should have won more in that time. I tend to agree. Maybe we should have won a couple more, like 7 Premier Leagues over that 15-year spell or whatever it was. Maybe like 7, a couple more, and maybe another Champions League as well. So, still really successful, but maybe that team, that greatness, that investment should have done a little bit better because we were always up in it, amongst it for the most part. And what else was good? So I wanted to speak about Michael Emenalo and Marina Granovskaya, both of which, of course, were really important figures in the Roman Abramovich era. You want to talk about sporting directors and hierarchy. Both of those were targeted massively. I don't know if you guys all remember, maybe some of you new Chelsea fans, maybe some of you just didn't pay attention. Emenalo got so much heat, like get out of the club. Marina Granovskaya, people hated her. You had fan cams outside Stamford Bridge saying, get her out. There was like every type of football. We were winning. Do you know what I mean? She was a very, very good operator, Marina Granovskaya, an amazing negotiator. I'm not saying she was perfect. Maybe she made mistakes, but she was a very good negotiator. And Michael Emenalo, though he wasn't always great, he was an important figure in terms of the management structure and Roman Abramovich sort of meeting in between. And he also sort of started the Belgian Revolution. So his probably best legacy on Chelsea, if I had to pick a couple of players. I mean, you could talk about De Bruyne, but we let him go. So you'd say maybe Eden Hazard and Thibaut Courtois. Both of them won 2 league titles, Europa Leagues, and they were like elite world class. I think maybe he was good in convincing N'Golo Kante to come, but we know Antonio Conte wanted to sign N'Golo Kante, and he had a very achievable buyout clause, so I don't know, how tricky that was. But despite, bringing in good players, important generational players for Chelsea, he was still targeted massively. Now, let's compare that to the current sporting structure. Of course, we've got, we don't have like a Marina Granovskaya, because she kind of ran the club towards the end, but the final say was Roman, so that would still be Badalik Bali. So I don't think we've got like a Marina Granovskaya, really. We've just got the 2 sporting directors, instead of, say, an Emenalo and a Granovskaya. Now, the sporting directors are Winstanley and Stewart. They're meant to be good. Winstanley from Brighton, Stewart from Monaco and other clubs. But I think Chelsea fans on social media probably prefer the likes of a Joe Shields, who of course is part of recruitment, and he has heavy links to the Man City group. And maybe in the future, hopefully in the future, in the same way, injuries providing on Lavia, we looked at, Hazard being this like Emenalo legacy signing. We'll look at Cole Palmer being this Joe Shields legacy signing, and maybe the likes of another Belgium Lavia is Joe Shields as well. Do you know what I mean? Maybe Sancho, but I don't think Sancho is going to ever explode into an incredible player. I think he's just going to be very good if he settles. So you've got like there's people in the structure that could find these new Chelsea legacy players, yeah. And that would, but it seems like more Joe Shields. The biggest criticism of the current sporting directors is firstly buying these young players, yeah, and not buying, say, a striker. I think we will buy a striker and a goalkeeper in the summer, but to get to this point and not see these weaknesses and not fill the voids, that's the biggest criticism, understandably. I mean, we did try for Samu Amoradion, we did try for John Duran. I think we even did try for Seshko, but they didn't just go, and we tried, of course, for Osimhen right till deadline day in the summer, right until the close of the transfer window. But they didn't just do, sod it, let's just do it, we need it, and go over the odds. Again, I can't flip-flop. I need to be firm on my opinions, which is, I think the Premier League's changing. I don't think it lends itself as much as it used to just buying mercenary players like it did in 2004 and giving them massively high wages. I think the landscape of the Premier League is changing, how systemic it is, and how you can rely less and less on individuals with a good team spirit. And I think I use as the best case study Manchester United, because they did that and they've been absolutely awful for ages. Just pay really high wages, bringing in, Casemiros and Varans, obviously as a recent example, giving them insane wages. We used to do that. We used to just bring in these big names, give them massive wages, and it worked. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that to some players, but I just don't think it works as well as it used to, basically. And no one's really doing it. People are doing, and clubs that earn much more natural, larger revenue than Chelsea now, they don't do it, right? They just don't. Clubs just don't do it anymore. And in fact, I'm not defending the owners. I'm just trying to highlight what's happening. They broke the transfer record twice on two very high-profile midfielders only recently. There's no, obvious demonstration of them. Oh, let me just pause my insane washing machine. Can you hear that? That's nuts. So it's an insane spin cycle. What was I saying? Look, they've spent loads of money, and they've done certain things like loopholes so they can put even more money into Chelsea, 1.5 billion. So it's not like, these guys just want to make money. They've spent loads of money on the Chelsea squad. They made mistakes. They've tried to remedy those mistakes in terms of the first transfer window and not do silly purchases like that. Look, I'm not particularly interested in 16-year-olds from South America at all. I mean, maybe next season we're in the Champions League and Esteval Willian is balling out with Cole Palmer, feeding a new expensive striker we've just signed. And everyone will be happy, like, wow, look at these generational young talents we've scouted and found, and we've got a striker and we're back in the Champions League. Great, but it's kind of hanging in the balance, isn't it? I did just want to take some time, compare it to the old way of spending just massive wages, high-profile players, dropping them in. I think there is a mix. I think I would not cry. Firstly, if the Chelsea owners disappeared and we were sold, I'd be nervous, first of all, because I would not know what comes next. Obviously, I've got my opinions about who should own football clubs, but also I don't think I think the current owners want to make money out of Chelsea, and they see Chelsea as an asset that wasn't making anywhere near enough money as it should, which is true, but they see that as a league as a whole. Americans see that. The top 10 most valuable sports clubs in the world, I think there's one football team in there, and it's Real Madrid. That's it. And football is the biggest watched sport in the world by far. So they're massively undervalued as assets. And that's why American owners come in and go, well, can we all make way more money? You're all effing dumb. So it's not about asset stripping, and you do get owners that come in and asset strip and rip the club to the ground and make them and kill them basically and suck the blood out of them. I don't see that happening here. I've seen £1.5 billion put into the club, largely irresponsibly, and Chelsea fans have been very patient and frustrated because they've transitioned into this just dysfunction. And like I said, it is this I think the biggest problem, okay, apart from the obvious things, we need a striker. Yeah, we didn't have a focal point and we need seniority. It's like these, like I said yesterday, because we've sort of lost this winning culture, and this is something that's just, this is the most irresponsible thing, and it's kind of hard to quantify to new owners how to have maintained that winning culture, because they sort of swept the deck so much. You almost need to leave a little bit of bacteria of winning culture in to spread to the other players. That was probably the biggest success, or the biggest winning formula of Chelsea. So, like, for example, Manchester United, they had Alex Ferguson. He was like the architect of rebuilding teams and keeping that winning mentality, and, you know, it's one of a kind manager. Chelsea didn't have that. We went through loads of different managers and were generally constantly good, but we had this core and like this changing of the guard that sort of kept the winning mentality in the dressing room, and that is what's missing. You know, I watched these young players, I said yesterday, they just let games happen to them. No one takes control, and there's just a lot of immaturity. Yeah, and so I'd be very nervous if new owners came in, because I'd be, what are they going to do? What are their intentions? Are they not going to spend any money at all, like the old ones? And are they going to asset strip, or are they going to, just whatever? I just don't know. I'd be the uncertainty, unless it's like, Roman's been cleared by the government, he helped end the war, and they let him back in, and he's just, dropped a bank on Isaac, and everyone's happy again, going, wait! Do you know what I mean? It's just never going to happen. I'd be very, very nervous. But sporting directors, I wouldn't cry for at all. Even if they've had hits, I do think Lavia is a really good player. I do think the midfield is good. I think we've made a lot of good signings that probably will make profit. And maybe some of the young South American teenagers are good, but I wouldn't cry for them, because their remit so potently, this is our plan, that you won't bend at all to just give freaking Maresca a striker. I won't care if they go, to be honest. I'm not going to defend the I'm not going to defend the owners, although I've got no particular love for them. I'm definitely not going to defend the sporting directors, although I've got to be fair, I've got to be balanced. I like some of their purchases. I've been and way before the ownership change, I do really like the incentive-based wage structure. I think it stops mercenaries, and I think it stops you from being a stagnant, degrading, declining Manchester United. So I do like some of the stuff like that. I understand the loopholes, I suppose, are good, because it means Chelsea weren't falling foul of financial fair play. But in terms of it's so simple to change the mood, isn't it? It's like two players. If they just sort of spent a little bit more and said, sod it, here's a goalkeeper, here's a striker, the mood would be totally different. And they should have done something like that, because then people can reflect on the positives of the plan at large, But look, I wanted to speak about it because people are romanticising about the past. The past model, I think, is largely untenable, especially in the age of the new financial fair play rules. And also, freaking, Bruce Buck, Marina Granovskaya, even Emanalo, they got so much heat. People were miserable giving them grief. But yeah, it was good to win. It's better to win. And if we don't start winning, it will be like a Greek tragedy with Chelsea. I do think it's harder to win now as well. Of course, you can compare to Liverpool, who are doing really well, but they're just this seasoned. They, for example, is it Edwards that's back at the club, the new sporting director that came in back summer? He did nothing. Well, they bought friggin' what's his face, Chiesa, and doesn't play football. Arne Slot comes in, and I think Arne Slot's good. He's clearly a very good manager. I didn't really he was Tottenham, which is very Tottenham. Tottenham's fifth choice or something that they rejected, this guy in Holland. Clearly he's very good, and he did very well to move Gravenberch into a deep line playmaker. But they've just got really good players, seasoned and old and ready to go. They're just one of the oldest teams. We're the youngest team. It's so boring to say, and it's not an excuse, because even young players can have a winning culture ingrained into their brains. But it's just, I just feel like the landscape's sort of changed so much that you have to change to win. Maybe Roman would have done that, and the Ground of Sky would have done that, But I just feel like a lot of people are just shouting into an echo chamber and they're angry and they just want to win all the time. And I get it. I'm the same. And to be honest, yesterday, this is a football therapy episode for me as well. Yesterday, I had that moment of just like, oh my God, like, I was even like, even though I like Maresca, I was looking at that game and I thought it did really well, managerial, coaching wise, against West Ham. But yes, you don't have a striker, yeah, and it's massively detrimental in this how we were playing football. But I don't think he was changing much to accommodate that flaw, that weakness, or doing anything really, which I was very frustrated with. So I'm kind of angry and upset with everyone, the players, the manager. And again, I wouldn't care if the sporting directors went, and they could go today. You know, they're the sort of biggest target it would seem on social media. Like, I kind of get it. If they go today, I'd go, this would be interesting. I'd certainly something to talk about. I'd still be pleased they signed, you know, Gusto, Cole Palmer. I'd really like Fofana, you guys know that. You know, I think they did good business with Vega and selling some players for a lot of money. And, you know, Jackson for 29 million quid will always be good. He's really, you know, an intelligent forward. And maybe Esteval Willian is going to be this absolute superstar. And he's, you know, Andre Santos, boy, what a signing he was out of Brazil. You know, like all this kind of stuff. I'll be pleased they made these signings and be like, right, nice one. But I wouldn't care if they left. Because what would we expect the new sporting directors or director of football to come in and go, here's Victor Osimhen, you know, on the first day of the summer transfer window. And is that all it takes? Is that the answer? So Chelsea fans are just not angry anymore. I don't know. I personally think the biggest mistake was changing too much too quickly. And we just lost, like I said, it's almost like a bacterial thing. We lost the winning culture. We didn't give it a chance to spread. Like the last kind of bastion of it was the old guard to almost like, you're like your Azpilicueta. Do you know what I mean? And Azpilicueta lifted the Champions League, didn't he? And then he left and everyone friggin' left and Kante left. And it was a bit like, what now? You know? And look, the players, the young players... Like, I like a lot of them. I think they're talented. And I'm not going to dig them out because, like, I was laying in bed, pissed off yesterday after that result. Sorry, this is such a long freaking video, but I know people don't like me rambling sometimes. But this is for me as much as it is for you, this one. I was laying in bed, really annoyed, thinking about these footballers, yeah. And I was like, I can't be angry at these players. Like, if you spoke to, like... a Noni Madueke or someone, you know, who's meant to be ambitious and confident and all this kind of stuff, but like if you said to him, how do you think you're doing, they'd probably be like, yeah, you know, we're in the race for top 4, you know, I'm playing for Chelsea, do you know what I mean? And of course he's gonna say that, but that was like bare minimum. That was the floor for the Chelsea old guard, yeah. They're like, yeah, I'll finish the Champions League, but next season we've really got to try and get that title. You know, do you know what I mean? But of course, this young player that was playing for PSV, you know, in the Eredivisie as like a 19-year-old, comes to playing to Chelsea, and you know, top 4 in Chelsea, the Premier League, the Premier League is way harder now than it used to be. It is. It simply is. It's harder to be the best because the Premier League is way better than it used to be. And look, again, it's not about comparing. Look at Tottenham, so whatever. But look at Man United, bro. I know they've been a banter club for a while, but they had a couple of second place finishes recently. They spend lots of money on players. They're trying a good manager. Amorim's a good manager. He is. I'm sorry, he is. He's a good manager. Look what he's done. And they're like... terrible, bro. You know, we never look that sort of incompetent structurally, but we look uninspiring. Anyway, I'm definitely rambling. The old days aren't coming back, but the new days can be better. If we finish top 4, if we win the Conference League, I'll definitely be happy, but I will still be very frustrated with how we've sort of let certain games go by. Again, you'll lose football matches, especially now more than ever. The landscape's so competitive. I'd be more inclined to take these 2-0 losses to Ipswich that will get relegated, which we had, than some of the other games, yeah? because they're like just, oh, they happen. Do you know what I mean? It's this almost the stuff in between, like yesterday, that I think that's the real indicator of failings of the the recruitment. Anyway, there you go. I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to compare it to the old regime. I wanted to speak about the new regime, the goods, the bads. Not particularly hammering my allegiances to anything really apart from voicing my concerns, but also highlighting the fact how I do like the manager. I do like a lot of the players. I think we've invested quite well in some young players. I think Esteval, Paez, Andre Santos coming in next season. Even the keeper Penders is meant to be really, really good. If we buy a senior keeper, a senior striker, Reece James is just fit again, Lavia comes back, it could be happy days, it could be party time. Do you know what I mean? Like yesterday as well, Brighton, if it was just a different player starting, I think we beat Brighton. If Reece James, Enzo Fernandez and Jackson starts, I think we win that game. Anyway, sorry for the long video. It is my therapy session. Thank you for listening to me and hanging out. If you like my thoughts on football or Chelsea, feel free to like and subscribe. And yeah, man, take care of yourselves. Peace.